Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Dr. Katie Show. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Pamela Lopez Fettes, and she is the CEO of Growth Dimensions. I'm so excited to have her with us today. She shared a presentation with the Young Professionals Network of the Belvedere Area Chamber, and I had the opportunity to learn a lot more about her, and I cannot wait for her to teach us more and to share some wonderful things about this community that we live in. I mentioned she is the CEO of Growth Dimensions, and Growth Dimensions is working on economic development for Boone County and Belvedere area. And what she's doing is she's actually putting forth efforts and strategies to attract, retain, and grow businesses here in our community. And she's been working on this for 9 years, which is amazing. And under her leadership, a couple of top points that I want to share right out of the get-go so that you can see how wonderful her work she is and how wonderful her work has been for Boone County. I just want to share. She has added over 4 million square feet of high quality commercial buildings to this area, which has increased more than 6,000 new jobs since 2017. Incredible. And 8.5 billion in investment from new and growing businesses, amplified home construction and reconstruction, formed and facilitated Forward Boone, which is a partnership with Boone County. So welcome, Pam, to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here with you.
I'm so excited that we could do it and that you could make the time in your busy schedule. So I just kind of want to learn a little bit more about you. Tell me a little bit about your career journey and what led you up to becoming the CEO.
It's been a long journey. It's probably not a job that I haven't even tried, but I had started my career wanting to be a psychologist, and my goal was to become a doctor and work in therapy and work with kids, and that's where I started. I started working. Ended up going for my doctorate, but I did get my bachelor's in science and psychology major, and focused on trying to help kids that were abused and neglected. Unfortunately, it's really difficult, wages in those kind of careers, and I started looking into other options that would broaden my horizons and still help people, and I got into workforce development. And I worked in many capacities in workforce development. In 30 years, I worked as a director of vocational school. I was a director of a workforce board. I ran programs. I was a business liaison, worked with manufacturing, healthcare, IT, finance, and was really happy with what I was doing. But quite honestly, a lot of those programs are funded through government resources, and sometimes the process wasn't quick enough for me. I like collaborating and acting on some of the ideas that we as a network have worked so hard to achieve. And I felt that economic development was a great marriage. And it's not just any economic development. I felt that this community was the best community to choose this role. And it was great. It's been great ever since.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, you're now the CEO of the company, so it must have been fun.
It was. And I have a great board to market this community and to grow this community is one of the easiest things because we have so many great assets. And from somebody who came from the Chicago area and moved out this way, and I was able to kind of see things from a different perspective that maybe sometimes people that are used to a community don't see themselves.
Yeah, and I know that. Is this a problem? My dog is so loud with his breathing. I think you could probably all hear it right now. It's probably driving Teresa mad. So one of the things, Pam, why I was so interested in having you on the show, over the past 5 or so years, I've iterated a lot with what is my show about? What is the message that I really want to bring forward? And it became very clear when I met you and I met the other people in the Boone County area. And I really want to highlight the amazing work that's being done right outside my door. I think it's underrated, and I think it's worth celebrating, because the work that you're doing to contribute to our region is amazing. And I moved here within the last 5 years, but I already have deep roots here, and I want to do whatever I can to help promote the work that you're doing, and just to bring more positivity to the community. And so one of the things I want to make sure to touch on today is kind of the intersection of meaningful work and a more uplifted world, right? I'm an organizational psychologist, so I help people find fulfilling careers, get promoted, things like have great team dynamics and executive coaching. You know, that's kind of where my expertise comes in. So when I think about the work that you do, bringing jobs to the area, you know, bringing opportunities to bring, you know, abundance to the community and more life, I started thinking about the kind of questions I wanted to ask you. And so the first one is, you know, when you think about growth dimensions, how do you feel growth dimension plays a role in Northern Illinois as far as creating a more uplifted world?
You know, it's more than just attracting and growing businesses in the area. It's, you know, identifying some of the best assets that our community holds. How do we compare amongst other areas? And then also is, what are some of our challenges? I mean, every community has a challenge. And how can we work with the community to address that? So I think I've shared with you before that, you know, even though something is not basically in your backyard, this is not your core mission, and it's maybe, a lot of people think, well, it's maybe somebody else's problem. But if it affects our ability to really grow our community, then it becomes our problem. We all have to be part of the solution. So we all need to work together in order to address that. And I think that that's a community effort. And I think we're in a great position to help identify what those things are and to provide our perspective. We have the opportunity to look at other communities and seeing what works, what doesn't. And I think that that's part of working together to build a better community.
Yeah.
And as you put, uplift.
Yeah,
I think it takes us all.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned what kind of assets we have as a community. Can you talk a little bit more about what assets you see Boone County has?
Well, I always say that we're really centrally located in the Midwest. We have great access across the world from our location. And we have also roads, rail, planes, just that access is
access is key.
What is key?
Okay.
Yes, it's primary. I think being outside of the Chicago metro area and being outside of Rockford, we're between two large cities. We have the access, but yet not too far, not too close. So sometimes the costs are a little bit lower. We have plenty of land. We have plenty of opportunities to grow. And sometimes it's easier for businesses to work with. Sometimes when the larger the city, it becomes more challenging. A lot of more loopholes, a lot more costs to grow.
Whereas you feel maybe you're a little more nimble here?
Yes, I do.
That's cool.
I think there's a lot more flexibility and things are streamlined. Some areas, like you have a department for this, a department for that. Whereas, okay, you work with one person or a couple people, and we're going to pull together the team for you to make it a lot easier so you don't have to go through all the politics, I think, that sometimes larger communities have.
Yeah.
And it's not wrong, it's just, it's different.
That's nice.
Also, I think we have the largest fair in Illinois,
yes.
outside the Boone County Fair, so we get a lot of people from outside of the community being able to see the charm of what makes us. Where we say we're agriculture meets industry, so we have a great combination, a great balance of a community. We have the Poplar Grove Airport, Wings and Wings Museum is one of my favorite places to go, and I think it's a feature that not all people know. They think it's a private airport, but there's a lot of things available for the community there. Edwards Apple Orchard, so there's a lot of tourism opportunities for people to come here. Plus, we have some of the largest businesses in the region. So with Stellantis and some of the healthcare systems. And now Walmart distribution, we're growing. So I'm finding that, we have a great place to live, safe place to live, wonderful education system. Just some of our assets. I mean, and we have a lot of community organizations. I don't think that a lot of people realize that we have a lot of services for, like for the Teen Age Center, for older individuals that are looking for that support as you get older. And a lot of people are not only taking care of the children, they're taking care of their parents.
Yes, they are.
So
those are the millennials, right?
Exactly.
We're kind of, we've got the young kids and we've got the aging parents.
Absolutely. So I think that there's a lot of resources that are available here. Are we, is everything here? No. But we're close enough to get to everything that somebody needs.
Yeah, when you think about the assets, our skill sets as a community, because I know that's going to be a big part of bringing industry here, what are you finding is the best, or not the best, but the most, what skills, we'll simplify that, what skills do we have that are most attractive to bigger businesses that come here?
Well, regardless of what your passion is as far as career choice, in every area, it's your soft skills. It's really your ability to work as a team. It's your be able to work independently. Well, they call them soft skills. I call them essential skills.
No, I call them soft skills. Yeah, they're essential.
They're essential.
They are.
It's ability to communicate, be able to be responsible, also be able to grow within their company. So a lot of companies will hire you with those qualities, I would say, more than the hard skills. However, we do have a lot of hard skills that are needed right now in the field. There's a lot of engineers that is necessary in a lot of different fields, mechanical or aerospace. There's also a lot of finance that's here, education, healthcare, tremendous need in healthcare. So just about in every area and every aspect is a skill that's needed in this area, community.
And it sounds like whether you have a college degree or not, you can find an opportunity for a good job here.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have the Rock Valley College Technology Center, which has been a great resource, and they're focusing on people to get those credentials while they're still young and or at least within the first 2 years, not necessarily within having to get a 4-year degree. And if somebody chooses so, they can move on to further their education. But it's really, there's a lot of high school programs too where you can get your high school degree and a college degree at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, your 2-year college degree at the same time, as well as getting your credentials, industry recognized credentials. So there's a lot of opportunity while somebody's still in high school.
That's nice. And do you find that there's enough population for the workforce demands?
You know what? That's the nice thing about our area. So one of the first things that businesses ask for when they're looking at a location is, what is my access to the workforce? And sometimes they look at industries that the workforce is working at, but most of the time is, how long does it take them to get here? So most of them commute.
What is their commute? Okay.
Absolutely. They look at under 60 minutes, under 30 minutes. But we also we could utilize more. So we're trying to build our residents as well as a workforce, looking at housing options here. We're a great single family home community. However, we probably need a little bit more diversity in our housing, maybe more apartments, condos, and townhomes. Our young people need a place to go when they're starting a family. They like this community. Like I said, great education, great place to start a community, our family. But also, there's also an aging workforce that doesn't want to leave the community. So we need something for both.
Yeah, and that's happening across the country right now. As the baby boomers are retiring, and the Gen Zs and millennials are entering and continue to enter into the workforce. So that's definitely a dynamic going on across the country. And I was hoping that you could share a specific project, tell us a story maybe about how it came about, where you feel Growth Dimensions intentionally aim to create that positive social or environmental outcomes that you've been talking about.
Okay. Wow, there's a few that I can think of, but I would say that a lot of people were concerned about the automotive industry for many years. Things were changed. You know, we were coming off the end of the pandemic, and electric vehicles was seemed to be something that businesses were considering. At the same time, the cost to transition was pretty high, and they knew that, and they thought after a pandemic, we're not going to do that. Well, as leadership changed and the government started focusing more on renewable energy sources and also started incentivizing for those, then they businesses just turned around and started focusing on electric vehicles. We worked with Stellantis, had a lot of conversations with them prior to the right after the pandemic, and we connected with them, with the state, tried to get on the state's radar on what it would take for a business like Stellantis to stay in Belvedere. What would it take to continue to invest in businesses that are investing in our community? It's not just about attracting businesses here, it's about keeping businesses here. We made that connection with the state, found quickly that we needed to take it to our legislators and make some legislative changes. So we started a letter to try to reach out to our elected officials. We talked to Representative Vella and Senator Stallman, who took the lead on supporting us and trying to make that transition. We connected the governor's office and them with Stellantis, and they proposed a new legislation called the Reimagine Electric Vehicles Bill. This, according to Stellantis, was a game changer. And this has not only helped Stellantis about continue to invest in our community in Illinois, but it also helped other businesses, other companies with electric vehicles and the microchips and other supporters. We worked with the Illinois Manufacturing Association. We worked with a lot of partners, and we had a lot of support both at the local and state and federal level. And we wouldn't be able to, basically the plant would remain closed if we didn't start this. We knew that there was other factors as well, but this was the beginning of a path that started focusing on how can we keep businesses here. We need to start looking at this differently. How can we try to change our legislation and make it a little bit more business friendly in Illinois? And the rumor got around, I think, that Illinois had really changed. So I feel that this was something that we were involved in, that we started. And that's what Governor Pritzker said. Is like, I heard this started with you guys, and I said yes, but it doesn't end here. We started a conversation, but it took all these partners, all these players together here to make it happen. So we're just very proud to have a piece of that and be involved in that process. So that's something that we're very proud. This started in 2021, so it was a long time, and these things don't happen overnight. But I have to say the state of Illinois really responded.
Yeah, and I think it took your leadership.
Thank you.
You know, and I think you mentioned, we talked about soft skills earlier,
Yes.
and being able to collaborate and work and partner, and that doesn't happen unless you have a vision for something. And so I'm curious if you can tell us, what is your vision if you were to say, I don't know, 20 years from now, what does Boone County look like?
Well, I think we still maintain that balance of being agriculture and industry. I think that we're a very connected community. Would like to have people stay throughout their lifetime here and don't feel like they have to move for housing or for jobs, that they have all those resources at their fingertips just by being in Boone County. I would love that. And really continue to be that safe family place that people love, but yet still have fun and excitement. So everyone likes to play in their own community, and I think that we, find everyone's niche here, or at least near here. I would like us to look back and say, you know what, we made a difference. We made this a better community. I believe a community, in order to thrive, needs to continue to grow, or at least evolve. And I think that that's what I'm trying to do, is making sure that we have those tools here that we do that.
That's wonderful. So many things that you said resonated with me, in particular, being able to have fun and enjoy where you live. And I know, and you mentioned young families too. I mean, I have a young family. Yeah. We love it here, although we don't really like the winters. And I know we talked a little bit earlier before we started filming. How do you survive the winter here? We just came out of a really cold winter and a cold spring. We're just starting to get things warmed up a little bit. But I'm from California, Northern California originally. Yeah. So what can our listeners who are considering coming to Boone County, what can they know, what to expect in the winter?
You know what? I've been born and raised in this region so I do I get used to the winters? No, you never get used to the winters. In fact, as you get older, you start like wanting some of those hot days a little bit more. But I thought about like relocating every once in a while. You think about those, but there's something to say about the Midwest. We have different sense of, the different values, and I think it is very family oriented. It is. But what do I say? I would say look for those things indoors. I mean, we are an agriculture business. We have a lot of agribusiness, so a lot of people here love the outdoors. But every once in a while, you just need to kind of refresh and get some of that hot weather. And it might be, we have an airport that takes you to, multiple locations, within minutes. And the airport's 20 minutes away from the Rockford area, Chicago Rockford International Airport. I had to say that right. So we're only 20 minutes from that, and it's so convenient. It's so much easier to fly in and out of there, and it's a great resource for people to just get away for a quick weekend.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I love that. I need to do that more often.
I think we all do.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep thinking about some of your work and where you want to take like your vision for Boone County and what's within reach for you, and then matching up, what do we need to do to get there, right? So if you're thinking this is where I would love to see Boone County in 20 years, wow. What do we need to do in order to get there, right? Because I'm here, I'm part of this community, I'm a natural collaborator. I met you, right? We're here doing this together. If we're asking our audience, what can they do to help? Or if it's just, can you tell us, what do you think we need to do? What are some of our obstacles or things we need to overcome in order to achieve that vision that
That's
you have?
That's a good question. Well, so as far as setting the vision for Belvidere, Boone County, or any of the townships, really the elected officials are really there to set the vision. What I try to do is provide them with the information they need to know in order to help them set the vision. So a lot of it is really giving them maybe it's the data, the perspective, the opportunities, helping them set those visions. And that does evolve. I remember talking to a former mayor, and he said, we don't want Belvidere to be like Schaumburg, but we do want to grow. We want to see some, opportunities so our tax rate is reasonable for our residents, and that we still can maintain the safety of our community, and but also be a place that people don't have to leave, or go very far in order to work or have fun. So I think that's part of that. But I think some of the challenges that we have is I think most of the people agree with what we want to do in our community. I think it's how do we get there? Right. And what do we need to do? And how, it's working together collaboratively. It's not, I always say to people, I don't market growth dimensions necessarily. I market Boone County. I market the community. I market our assets. I want this to be, this is not something that is going to look on, and that's not me that I'm trying to market. I'm not
Right.
trying to elevate me as a person. I'm only want enough elevation for the organization so we can continue to get funding and continue to get support so we can continue to help our community. But it's really focusing on trying to what's improve the community. So it's making our education better, making the pipeline of education better from the grade schools, the high schools, into college or into jobs. It's helping businesses make an easier connection with the future workforce. It's helping them grow with the current workforce. It's connecting them with other resources that are available, maybe so they can grow. It might be grants or other opportunities. Understanding their biggest business's biggest pain point and working through that. It's also understanding legislative issues and understanding how it affects our business, how it affects our community. And it's trying to have that conversation with our elected officials, whether or not it be locally or at the state or nationally, so can make those changes. Also working with the infrastructure, making improvements as we grow. What does that mean to us? How does that affect us? So every aspect of economic development, we have to be involved in. We have to understand it enough to help guide our community and to make those decisions a better place. And again, I just want it to be a better place to live, work, and play.
I love that.
We just, change is hard for people. That's another thing.
Yeah, it is.
In economic development, we call it, people are okay with the goals, but it's a thing called not my backyard kind of syndrome. A lot of people are okay with growth or change.
As long as it's not in their backyard?
Not in their backyard.
And why do you think that is?
Just because they have comfort,
Okay.
A lot of times I'm supportive toward renewable energy, but I want it, further away from me, not here in our community. I would love to see a factory here and I love to see a factory grow, but I don't want it to happen here. Why don't you put it in this other community? So we get a lot of that where I don't, it's just natural.
People want to see improvement, but they're not sure, maybe they're
that
afraid.
I want to see it here. Afraid of change. Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just Boone County. It's throughout the US. Many people feel that way. So
yeah, I think it's human nature to fear change, but I think
is.
even more so since the pandemic, we're sort of a little bit more protective over what is our homeostasis, what is a safe place for us, and I think it's taken us a long time, and we're still not quite over that.
Absolutely, yeah, that really changed a lot in our community, and it's starting to. I think that's one thing that helped us evolve. And it's evolving. Some of this stuff is never going to be the way it was, and other things are like, well, yeah, it's coming back.
Right.
So going back to the office, it's coming back. It's slow.
Yeah,
People
slow.
Like the flexibility
Right.
though, so it's hard, but it's some of it is coming back. Yeah,
That's good.
it's just that what our expectations are. And I think a lot of people come out here, or maybe came out here years ago, and are looking to be in a farmland community. And now you're seeing it a little bit more developed, and that's hard. I know elected official once asked me, what do I think about people living near rail? And I said, quite honestly, it's not a thing that I would want to do personally. But there's people that do it all the time.
Yeah.
And they're fine with it. Look in the Chicagoland area, people live right next to the rail.
Yep. On my home in California, I was so close I could walk there, and that's how I got to work to go to the city. And it was just part of the way life was.
So it's what you're used to, what your expectations are. And it's difficult to, change is difficult.
Yeah. So how does Growth Dimensions get to extract the voices of the community here? How do you hear what these voices want, or what economic development is from their perspectives?
That's a good question, because quite honestly, I'm trying to make bigger effort to talk to more people that I've seen, like are making posts on Facebook. We I present to the county board and the different taxing bodies every month. Typically. And it's my chance to kind of share what we're doing. And hearing people's comments or getting some responses, and sometimes I've been more advocating to reach out to these individuals and say, would you like to have a conversation? But I'm open to having more conversations with individuals that have questions about economic development. I used to get calls all the time and say, hey, what's going on here? What's happening here? I'm seeing some changes. Can you tell me about it? Some of it I can share and some of it I can't, but I'm glad that the community is reaching out because they want to know. They want to understand. And I think I think
it's exciting.
It is.
It is exciting to see growth, because usually when a larger company comes in, they're fixing roads, they're improving street signs, it's becoming a little bit more, I don't know, just refreshed, I guess you could say.
They're investing in the community.
Yeah, they're investing in it, and it feels wonderful. Like I liken it to, I've lived in this home for about 5 years, and we haven't had any landscaping or anything out. It's just been mud and front door basically, and we just got some grass finally growing, and it kind of puts a little pep in my step.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice. A lot of people love this greenery, and they come out here for that purpose.
Especially after a long winter.
Absolutely. So, we like to see things grow in our community, and it's just individuals that are maybe are concerned about some of that growth. They just, I think sometimes they just don't understand. And a lot of times they don't have all the details, and they have a different perspective. So I'm trying to reach out a little bit more. There's also a lot of comprehensive plans that the cities and the counties and the municipalities are involved in, and there's a lot of opportunities for public comment. I try to work with businesses in order to encourage them having that, especially if they feel something isn't controversial.
Yeah. Do you find folks speak up?
I do.
Good.
I do. It's just trying to find sometimes that venue where you're going to hit most people. So is it social media? Is it in person? Is it the hours that they need? It's really trying to meet everybody's need, but it's really difficult. Making sure that the communication is available to them.
Yeah. Where do you find community members most reach out with their feedback in all those different options that you shared? Where do you hear from them the most? Is it mostly social media?
I would say social media.
Really? Okay.
Yes. When we've had public forums, I don't think too many show up
in person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe they don't know that's on the agenda item. So I think, people don't understand also how economic development works and all the players that are involved in order to make a project happen.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I'm learning a lot more about economic development, and I definitely want there to be more upliftment in the world around me and across the nation, etc. But what does that mean for us here in Boone County? Like, what does that actually look like?
So let me just kind of walk you through how the project starts. So either we're contacted by a company directly, or it could be by a site selector, it could be their lawyer, it could be their accountant. It could be what we call somebody that is representing that company, basically. It's an influencer. So they would reach out to Growth Dimensions, and typically we're the first point of contact. The reason why we're the first point of contact is because we're a community-based organization. We are we don't share information. Information they share with us is confidential. And once you share it with a city or a municipality or a county, it becomes public information. And some of the information they can keep away from the public record, but then there's some that they can't. So we try to keep it as quiet as possible until the company is ready to share that with the elected bodies. So an example is we were working with a site selector firm on a project we called Yukon. which is now Walmart. Everyone knows the Walmart distribution center.
Okay.
We had several meetings with them, talked to them about what they want to do. There was different parties that were also involved. They were looking at land. They were looking at different sites. We were working with a broker on the other end, talking to the broker about potential sites available. We kind of knew what our competitors were, so we were sharing information about why we were a better site than maybe our competitors to the state north or to our Chicago metro area, counterparts. And we would share information like different data points, incentives that we have locally, those that are available on a state or national level, what they might qualify for in order to get their best return on investment. We want to also minimize their risks. And so does this land have issues? Do we have any studies that they can look at? Are there any challenges with, people living near it? Will they have any complaints? Or, what are some of the challenges? Full gamut. Roads, access to, transportation, trucks. Are they interested in rail? Are they not? So we address all these questions.
Do you have a list, or do they give you a list?
They provide us with a list.
They say, answer all these questions.
Yeah, sometimes they give us a spreadsheet in which we have to fill out all these data points. I've even had some, how far are you to a potential customer? So it could be, how many soy farms do I have in Boone County? And how many are public? How many are private? It could get to so much detail or as little. Power. How much power is coming to this? How much capacity do we have? What is the water, the wastewater available?
Wow.
What is the potential? All these data points. Workforce, as we mentioned earlier.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. What are the skill levels? What are the graduation? What programs do we have in place? So all these details, and it's my job to understand what we're competing with, or what I think they're competing with, and also what are our greatest assets, and how can I share that and make it shine for them? How can I stand above the other people, or other groups, other communities? So I share some of those assets that we're talking about the quality of life. Then after a period of time, they're analyzing. It might be a few conversations and maybe one conversation. And then we usually set up a team meeting. So in this case with UConn, we set up separate team meetings. We met with the school district. We met with the city of Belvedere. We met with different taxing bodies. We met with Boone County, all those taxing bodies, and talked to them from an incentive point of view. And then we talked also, had a meeting talking about what questions they haven't asked. So with the broker and those decision makers on sites, we were also talking to them about, can we meet your needs? So we usually pull together that team, what it looks like. It could typically be the mayor or the elected official, could be the county chair, it could be the water department, wastewater department, could be the building department, could be the planner, it could be the lawyer, it
Your
could
brain
be all
is an
those.
encyclopedia.
So I have to identify who we need to bring to the table. I make recommendations, but it's really up to the company. It says, and there's been times where like, no, I don't need them in the room, or I don't want them in the room. So they make those decisions, but I make recommendations. And then we have those meetings and we talk about it, and then we follow up and maybe some additional meetings to dig down deeper. And meanwhile, the company is having engineering firms. They're doing soil samples. They're doing, all this engineering analysis. And then when everything comes to play, we talk about the process. Do they need to have annexation in? Do they need to have any special purposes for their building? What does this need? How much time is it going to take? Time is really important.
I was thinking of time and how much time is passing between when the first moment that person reaches out to,
Excellent.
to win a decision?
It can be anywhere from a month to over a year.
Okay. What about Project Yukon?
It was closer to over a year.
It was, wow.
Yes. In fact, we had changed our enterprise zone incentives in order to seal that deal.
Oh.
So we went to all the taxing bodies. We let them know we're putting something together. Growth Dimensions manages the enterprise zone on behalf of the taxing bodies. And we made some recommendations for changes to meet their requirements as well as other future projects. So we made that recommendation to the taxing bodies. They approved it, and then we had to go to each meeting to get it approved from the taxing bodies. Then we had to send it to the state, the application, and so that all took another probably 3 to 6 months.
Goodness.
Yes.
And do you find you're running projects concurrently?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
last couple of years were really busy.
Really? So what does 2025 look like for Growth Dimensions?
We are working with a major project. A lot depends again on the environment. We also have some projects that are finishing up. Stellantis, where we anticipate that they will make some improvements to their current facility. What that looks like, I'll probably find out later, a little bit more later this year, this week.
This week, okay.
This week. And we have some other projects. So when we have a large project, especially manufacture, it actually brings in other jobs.
I was going to say, it's like that magnet effect.
Yes. So we always say with one job in manufacturing, you're creating 2 jobs in other areas.
Oh.
So, and it also creates some other things like more storefronts, whether or not it be grocery stores or fast food restaurants or restaurants in general. Other positions creates more jobs in healthcare and education, a lot of different areas. So, finance. So these are all kind of a rippling effect.
I love that.
As we focus, somebody asked me once, why do you focus on manufacturing primarily? I said, because it has the biggest return. So our goal is to increase the manufacturing and, followed by maybe logistics and distribution and other areas.
I love that. I love that mindset. Well, so how can the community share their feedback with you? Where can they get connected with you? What's the best way to follow what Pam is working on, follow what Growth Dimensions is doing?
Well, you can follow us on social media.
Okay.
That's one way. Also,
which social media? Like
we have Facebook,
just
LinkedIn.
Growth Dimensions. Okay.
Yes. Or you can just go to our website too. It's www.growthdimensions.org. And you could, like I said, social media. We do a lot on Facebook and LinkedIn. We also have Twitter, I think.
Or X.
There's others. So X. Sorry, X. And we have presentations that we give. We're always willing to give presentations to the groups.
Okay. Is this an invitation to
absolutely.
Community members who want to learn more about Growth Dimensions? Can have you out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've done it to the Rotary, the Chamber, different groups that have asked us to speak, and we'd be glad to. This year I've spoke to the government elected officials throughout the state, focusing on Latino businesses and how you can grow and keep your Latino businesses in our community, and how you can be a better community member, working with them, because we have a high Hispanic population in Boone County. So it's nice to trying to target a lot of communities to become business friendly with all businesses.
I love that. And I definitely want to thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you so much for your work in Boone County. You are truly an inspiration to me. And I'm sure you're going to be incredibly inspirational to the rest of the audience who has a chance to listen today.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this, and I hope that everyone has been able to take away. But if anything, it's really everything takes a partner, and I appreciate your partnership and helping us grow.
Yeah. Well, that's all for today. See you next time.